The final game of day number 1 of the 2023 Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship, and it should be a good one. In the field, last year's finalists, they fell 4-1 in the title game to the Galway Hitmen in Newfoundland, the Toronto BATMEN, and they will face the host team, the SOOKE British Columbia Loggers. Peter Loubardius alongside Blair Setford to bring you this one as well as we will all tournament long. Blair, we witnessed a quality game, our last one between Galway and Saskatoon in a 4-2 victory for the 3-time reigning champs. I think this one has every opportunity to be an excellent game between two very good teams. Certainly in the case of SOOKE, very good hitting team.
Well, both of these teams will have designs on being in that championship game with the Galway Hitmen and getting their hands on a gold medal. Toronto got close last year. SOOKE has been in the championship game against Galway as well. And both of them have got the opportunity, at least in their minds, that they're going to make another play for it. And this is a good measuring stick for both of these squads early in the tournament. Toronto already a big 10-2 win over the Grand Prairie Pirates. SOOKE just getting into their inaugural game here this evening as the host, getting the opportunity to play the last game of the night. And this is a really nice matchup. We were watching the warm-up. Tyler Randerson for Toronto throwing very hard in warm-up, and this is going to be a challenge for him leading off right away with Team Canada member Matthew Waugh. But this SOOKE lineup, 1 through 6 or 7, as deep as anybody.
Matthew Waugh, who's played on a number of different teams. In fact, he was a Galway Hitman last year in Newfoundland. He's played for Quebec and others, and just helped the New York Gremlins to another ISC World Tournament title in Wisconsin. The 34-year-old from Quebec to lead things off for SOOKE, and Randerson delivers ball number 1. Tyler is 26 years of age. And he, at last year's Canadian Championship, was 1-2-1 with a 2.38 earned run average. And Waugh, a swing and a miss on Randerson. Matthew has played in 5 World Championships for Canada and has been an elite-level outfielder for a long time. This is a sky-high fly ball, and Mason McKay will settle under that for out number 1.
It's a good start for Tyler Randerson, primarily a rise ball hitter, or rise ball pitcher, rather. He'll want to get a collection of those pop-ups. We saw Colin Walsh get a lot of ground balls the previous game. It'll be a little bit different with Tyler Randerson. Great lights here at Softball City. Not something you always get the benefit of at softball diamonds around the world, but world-class lighting here.
39-year-old Chris Walushka is the batter. He was 4 for 13, batted .308 at last year's Canadians. This is his 9th Senior Men's Championship. Playing in game number 60, certainly since 2011.
Yeah, Chris is a veteran, has done a stint with Team Canada. Mostly outfield, but has played a little bit on the infield as well.
Rips it, and it's a fair ball, and then gets by left fielder Corey Way. And the SOOKE Loggers in business.
Boy, that ball was absolutely smashed down the line there. Just fair, too, by a width of the ball. And you see it scored under the glove of Corey Way to give Walushka the extra base.
So an extra base hit for Walushka, who had a double, a home run, and 4 runs batted in at last year's Canadian Championship. And the dangerous catcher, Blake Hunter, is the batter. And swings and misses on a changeup for strike 1.
The off-speed might be the best pitch you can throw to Blake Hunter. He absolutely smashed the ball this year with the New York Gremlins.
36 years of age, from Nanaimo, British Columbia, is Blake Hunter. Just 2 for 10 in last year's Canadians. Played in 2 world championships for his country in 2017 and 2019. Trying to drive home the game's first run. And Randerson thought he had strike 3. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Blake Hunter. Again, didn't miss the mark by much, and the count goes even. Randerson had 25 strikeouts in last year's tournament against 5 free passes. Good pitch on the ground. Should score a run, and will. A run batted in for Blake Hunter. And Sook strikes first in the top of the first.
Well, getting it out there, even though they conceded the run, is probably a good result for Ty Randerson and the Toronto Batmen, as well as Blake Hunter has hit the ball this year. When you can keep him in the yard and even in the infield, it's an accomplishment.
Well, this gentleman at home plate has nothing but accomplishments in his career. Brian Avery, longtime national team member, and he's trying to hit that to downtown Vancouver. On the swing and the miss.
Well, Brian was a part of the opening ceremonies, Peter, as were you, out on the field. He was the receiver for the first pitch, or the opening pitch, I guess.
From former outstanding ball player, now NHLer, Carson Soucy, who was recently obtained by the Vancouver Canucks, and I think he'll be a great fit on their blue line. He's from Irma, Alberta. Avery sky high. And Adam Long takes care of it. An extra base hit and a run for Sook as they strike first in their opening game of this Canadian Championship. Brady Woods gets the call for the Sook Loggers, the veteran pitcher. And about to face Ty Sebastian, who's in the designated player role. Ty, a terrific pitcher and hitter.
Well, if your theory is you put your best hitter to lead off, Toronto BATMEN is certainly subscribing to that.
Well, Ty had a terrific Canadians last year, a big reason why Toronto made it all the way to the championship game. He was 12 for 29 in the Canadian Championship. In fact, in 25 Canadian Senior Men's Championship games, he's averaged .412.
There you get a good look at Brady Woods, a veteran, the lefty. You often hear the phrase crafty lefty. Brady Woods, I don't think, well, maybe he qualifies for crafty, but he still throws hard. He's not one of the soft-throwing junk ballers out there. He still throws it.
A swing and a miss for Sebastian. 5 for 15, Blair, is what I have him at in terms of batting at the ISC World Tournament.
Yeah, he had a couple of home runs, picked up some RBIs, but it was the 3 pitching wins that really caught the eye, obviously, of the selection committee. Second team All-World for his pitching exploits this year.
Yeah, 3 home runs and 7 runs batted in at the ISC. But you're right, was excellent in the circle and drills this off the wall on one hop. And Sebastian's fine season continues.
Well, I thought he got all of that one.
I did too.
Or enough at least to get it out of the park, but it was hit on such a line drive that it just one-hops the fences. You see it there.
Now remember, in this park, at night, when it is cool, the ball does not carry all that well. And the air right now is pretty heavy. Is Mitch McKay the batter? One of those really exciting young players in our country. He is the starting shortstop. And Brady Woods paints the outside corner. 2 quick strikes on 23-year-old Mitch McKay. Had a huge all-star performance for Tavistock at the U23s. Played for Canada at the U23 World Cup in Argentina, where he was 5 for 17. This is one of those keep your eye on youngsters moving forward, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He did a fine job, I thought, handling the pitching staff at the U23 tournament in Paraná in Argentina for the Canada U23 team, and played his way into the lineup, too. The 5 for 17 or whatever you've got him for, it's a little deceiving because that team as a whole just did not hit, but he was probably one of the brighter lights for Canada on the offensive side.
Trying to drive in the first run for Toronto as they trail it 1-0 early. Sebastian with that lead-off double with authority to the wall in left center. Had a chance to watch the McKays at a tournament in Simcoe earlier this year. And Brady Woods records his first strikeout of this national championship event.
Good rise ball here from Brady Woods. Good elevation on the ball coming out of his hand with the good spin. Remember talking with Laurie Cook-Baird, who pitching coach in the Illinois area, and Brady had that true 6-12 spin on his rise ball.
Missing outside that time. Was 1-3 Brady Woods at last year's Canadian Championship in 18 1/3 innings. Earned run average of 5.35. Struck out 26 and walked 3. Dealing with Corey Way in the number 3 spot. Kevin Schellenberg, who knows his way around the infield. A longtime Canadian national team member. Have always enjoyed watching Kevin play the sport, and nice to see him back at 42 years of age in this tournament.
And look at the snazzy shoes that he's got on, too. Very snow white. And I fully and wholeheartedly agree with you. It's great to see Skates back on the diamond. One of the best defensive shortstops in the game.
There is little doubt about that. Certainly in, I guess, what would have been his national team prime. Ball gets away from Blake Hunter behind the plate and allows Sebastian to scamper over to third as Denny Benson with another opportunity to tie the game for Toronto. And I know you're high on this player.
I'm a big fan of Denny Benson. He just hits, and I'm waiting for him to just go on a Ty Sebastian-like tear, and for that to provide even more depth in this Toronto lineup. He's got all the tools.
Brady Woods looks strong early, trying to get out of this bottom of the first after giving up a leadoff double to Ty Sebastian. And does just that. Striking out Denny Benson. His second strikeout leaves the base runner stranded at third. Through one inning, the host Sook Loggers with a 1-0 lead over the Toronto BATMEN on day one of the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship. A night that requires a sweatshirt or two, which is okay. It is late August. 1-0. Sook leads Toronto. Derek Mason, long-time national team member.
Well, I'll tell you something, Peter. I am pleased to be able to get the opportunity to see Derek Mason play one more time in person. I was under the impression that that was going to be his swan song down in Auckland, but I'm glad that he's here especially in his hometown.
Yeah, so am I. "38 years of age. Sounded even a couple of years ago like it was time, and he was looking at moving on. And then he had a marvelous world championship in New Zealand. And takes a strike from Ty Randerson. Mason at the World Championship this year was 8 for 27. Hit 3 home runs and drove in a team-leading 8.
There's a good change up there from Tyler Randerson. If he can mix that pitch in and keep these hitters off balance, that will really make his night go a lot better. Didn't see that in the first inning from Ty.
Derek Mason helped the Vancouver White Sox win the 2007 Canadian Championship. Hammers this. And a terrific defensive play in foul territory by Corey Way. He had to go a long way to track that ball.
Look how far he runs and then makes the smart play, sliding into the dirt up near the fence. You got to be cognizant of the fence. And that is a great, great play.
Superb play indeed for the first out to retire Derek Mason. Kyle Kowick. And Randerson missing inside and maybe a little bit high. Kowick or Cowick?
I've always gone with Cowick.
Well, let's stay with Cowick then. 32 years of age. 0 for 2 in last year's tournament. Another veteran and good hitter. Played in 4 Canadians. Has averaged .250 during them. Starting first baseman in this game. And takes a strike from Randerson, who is certainly throwing with no shortage of velocity. I would think probably the hardest thrower we've seen in action today in our games.
Yeah, I think so. Pierce and McCullough would be up there as well, but just the way that Randerson has been bringing it here this evening, he's going to be in that same category.
Cowick with a hitter's count, and Cowick draws a 1-out walk. Brings to the plate second baseman Clint Taylor. 27 years of age. He was 1 for 13 at last year's tournament in Newfoundland for the Sook Loggers. And that tournament didn't go all that well. They have a much stronger team here in 2023.
Yeah, a lot more depth, and I really like the couple of upgrades that they've made, bringing back Kevin Schellenberg and ensuring that Derek Mason is here.
Taylor takes ball 1 from Randerson, who has given up 1 hit. Not sure if they scored it a double or a triple for Chris Walushka, who ended up scoring on a ground out. Taylor mad at himself, thought he had a good pitch to really drive, and he hit it, but into foul territory. Cowick, the base runner. Final game of the day. Toronto is already in the win column here, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the first game for the host team. And Clint Taylor just missed that pitch. When you see a ball that is fouled literally straight back, you know that the batter has just missed it. Here's the 1-2, and it's the bread and butter, the rise. And a strikeout of Taylor. Strikeout number 1 of the game for Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, got under that ball with good rotation coming out of the hand. And good movement upward at the plate. Good pitch from Tyler Anderson.
Tyson Barkman takes a change up for strike 1. Barkman, a veteran, in the designated player role to begin.
Well, he'll do his fair share of pitching here this week, too, for the Loggers.
That gets away from catcher Derek Hyde, who many of you spend a lot more time than I do around the men's game at the highest level the last few years, like the guy beside me. Will tell you that Derek Hyde might be one of the best receiving catchers in the country.
Ryan Boland said on a podcast recently that he is looking and waiting for the next Team Canada catcher to come to him and say, I need the book. And by the book, I mean the knowledge to be passed on about all of the top hitters and what that accumulated knowledge that Ryan has about everybody that he's written down. And he got that from Sean O'Brien because he went to Sean O'Brien and said, I need to know. And Derek Hyde, I think, is somebody that needs to pick up the phone and say to Ryan Boland, I want to know because I want to be that guy with Team Canada. He is that good defensively. He's been working on his hitting. It's coming along. He's a contender for that job because Ryan Boland, past the 2025 cycle, is probably done.
That's the next World Cup of men's softball in Prince Albert. Next year there's a qualifying tournament. Canada as the host will automatically be in 2025, and a good swing from Barkman, 36 years of age, was 5 for 13 in last year's tournament. He's played in 6 Canadian championships, where he has averaged .329. And as a runner in scoring position in Kyle Cowick. Randerson, a 2-time member of Canada's World Junior team in 2014 and 2016. And comes through. The rise is his best pitch, and he used it to get the last 2 outs and keep his team down by a run. They trail Sook by a run here in Surrey. Quick correction, talking about Derek Mason and the Vancouver 2007 championship team. I think I referred to them inadvertently as the White Sox. They were for sure the Gray Sox, because even in Derek's first at-bat I was flashing back to the first time I watched him play. And if I'm not mistaken, don't remember the exact year, but I do think it was in Kitchener when he was a member of the Grey Sox.
2006 or 2007 would have been in Kitchener for the ISC at least.
Well, that's where I saw him.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that is where I saw him, thinking, boy, this guy is a terrific young player.
Certainly has had a terrific career.
Brady Woods pitching for the Sook Loggers. Yeah, papers flying all over. I got the yard sale going on upstairs late in the day where we could use a light, I must say. Brady Woods, the lights are on, and they're working well as he records his third strikeout and shuts down Cody Skelton to start the bottom of the second inning.
Well, that was good morning, good afternoon, and good night to Cody Skelton. 3 straight pitches, and we hardly knew ye.
Big swing for Adam Long, who's over at first. See, Blair, this is what happens when you miss somebody in the lineup and then you have to scribble and then you redo it and then it's dark so you can't see what you've scribbled. I shouldn't give away those trade secrets on the air, but that's exactly what happened. So this is Adam Long. Toronto still looking for their first hit. It is early, but Brady Woods is throwing well. They'll check at third, but the third base umpire says no to the check swing. Hope for a strike.
Well, I think the scoreboard operator has already forgotten the leadoff double that Ty Sebastian had. They're showing no hits for Toronto, but Sebastian rung one off the fence. Back to open the first.
Yeah, we thought it was out of here, both of us. And another strikeout, which I think is the fourth of the game for Woods as he sits down Adam Long.
Fourth of the game, third in a row for Brady Woods, who's on a little mini roll.
And Johnny Baker, the batter, playing at third. Good drop. 36-year-old Brady Woods. This Sook team, a lineup that certainly figures to score a lot. Will they pitch well enough to truly contend for a national championship? And Brady Woods says, I've come to pitch. And is throwing hard, too. Brady Woods off to a marvelous start. 5 strikeouts, 4 in a row, and it's 1-0 Sook after 2 at Softball City. A 1-0 Sook lead. Longtime national team member, Kevin Schellenberg. Probably the memory that will never leave my mind from Kevin's time with the national men's team is late in the game against Venezuela. He came in to replace Ian Fairman and made an unbelievable play behind the bag at second to get Sean Cleary out of the only trouble he was in all day long. And it was so tough because Fairman, just a marvelous shortstop. Kevin came into the game, was at a point with the national team where, he wasn't playing all the time. And I've even gone back and forth with him, certainly on social media, to tell him how great I thought that play was. And it was a very key moment in that gold medal game against Venezuela.
Yeah, it absolutely was. He and Brad Ezekiel, the two standout players that day for Canada. Sean Cleary, obviously, for the pitching performance. Brad Ezekiel for the game-winning home run. But people still talk about that play that he made was a game saver.
It was indeed. And here's Kevin back at a Canadian Senior Men's Championship for the first time since 2011.
That's a crazy stat. Since 2011?
That's what I saw. That seems odd.
Wow.
But that can't really be the case. But when I look through, certainly, and again, credit to My Stats Online, it would seem odd, though, for a guy who is still playing on our national team in 2015.
There were a number of years where there wasn't a BC representative.
And maybe that's what it was.
That's the only thing I can think of.
And Schellenberg goes down swinging. Kevin played in 5 men's world championships, his first all the way back to 2004. Because there was an odd scenario. There was a championship in 2004, and then there wasn't another. They used to be in 4-year cycles, but didn't play again until Saskatoon in 2009.
Yeah, they took an extra year because they didn't want to have a World Cup opposite the Olympics that year in 2008.
Which was the last women's Olympic softball tournament prior to Tokyo.
Yeah, for a number of years, that's right.
And of course now it's not back in Paris. And hopefully the women's game gets back in Los Angeles. But it has not been rubber stamped yet.
Which you would have thought would be automatic with the Olympics being in the U.S. and the dominance that, or near dominance, that the U.S. women's team has shown. That's almost, well, it's a guaranteed medal, you would certainly think. Maybe not a guaranteed gold medal. But as you said, it's not a guarantee.
And I'll tell you in a second why that is the case from what I've heard. As Matthew Waugh, on the topic of elite world level Team Canada players, Matthew's second at bat, he flew out to the center fielder, Mason McKay, to start the ball game tonight. What I have heard is, and you're going to find this odd, that they don't have a facility that works.
Yeah, I'm finding that odd.
And I knew you would look at me like that, but
how could they not just go to UCLA or where USC plays?
Because what they're saying is that those parks aren't big enough. The Major League season is in, so they don't, as of yet, have a place, and then there's security and all of that. So there, like you said, there are a lot of great places for softball. You know, I've seen games at UCLA and USC and Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, but there isn't necessarily like a 15,000 seat or, now I would think some of those parks could be made into those and would have to be, but.
Well, that's a head scratcher.
And I'm sure they're still, working on something. There's certainly a great park in Cathedral City, but nothing in that.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect a softball stadium to be 15,000 seater.
And you probably don't need 15, but you probably need 10.
If you're going to have a standalone softball facility, and the other thing is, as you just said, the Major League season is in the midst of that, and they're not going to shut down. So do you kick the LA Dodgers out of their stadium for 2.5 weeks? That's a big ask.
It is a big ask. Well, we have a good game going. That's not an ask. For you to stick around, it'll be well worth it. Going to the bottom of the third, and Toronto trailing Sook by a count of 1-0. Brady Woods has 5 strikeouts, 4 consecutively, and dealing with catcher Derek Hyde, the 26-year-old from Tavistock, who hit .364 at last year's tournament. The Toronto advanced to the championship final before they lost 4-1 to the Galway Hitmen. And the Hitmen are a perfect 2-0 in their pool play. For the end of the evening, Blair and I will update you on not necessarily every single game score, but potentially on the standings. As Hyde steps in. And a big swing and a miss from the 26-year-old. He was 8 for 22. 3 for 11 at the ISC World Tournament, and goes down, and the strikeout run continues for Brady Woods, who is giving Sook elite starting pitching to begin this tournament. Center fielder Mason McKay. And another strike. Throwing hard and finding spots is Brady Woods in this game.
Well, the latter part of that will become more and more important as the game wears on, too. The book on Brady has often been great first 3-4 innings. Can you get to Brady in the third or fourth the second time around? And that's that will be the challenge here for the Toronto guys. But if you're going to chase pitches like that upstairs, it makes his job a lot easier.
Mason McKay is just 21 years of age. Helped Tavistock to the U23 National Championship recently in Saskatoon. He was an all-star, batted .400 with 7 runs batted in.
Brady, I'm not sure whether he caught a cleat or something. He's asking for the ball back, but he took a quick walk around the board after that pitch. Seems like he's all right, but there was some concern there just for a moment, and now we're going to get the trainer come out and just check on Brady.
Here comes the athletic therapist. Do you think the St. Louis Cardinals played a role in the design of their hats?
No, they're checking on the elbow. Brady's got that, what do you call it, a tensor band or the compression band.
He does not look very comfortable. No, he says, let's go. At least that's what I think his lips just uttered.
Yeah.
Lot of smiles, so I think he's going to be all right. So the 36-year-old, who's off to a whale of a start, and this is an excellent lineup he's facing.
Well, they piled up 10 runs this morning in their win over Grand Prairie.
Mason McKay to center. And Chris Walushka says, I'll take care of that for out number 2. And the gentleman who has the lone hit in the game for the Batmen returns to home plate in Ty Sebastian, who was about 3 feet away from starting the game for Toronto with a home run. He clobbered it to left center. Sebastian played for Canada at the most recent World Men's Championship in New Zealand. He was 2 for 14 in that tournament. Did have a 3-run homer against Japan.
Also had a no-hitter against South Africa for Canada in that event as well. The late addition to the team. Had that terrific Canadians, as you've talked about, Peter, last year in St. John's, leading Toronto to the silver medal. And was added late when Devin McCullough was unable to make the trip.
Sebastian, ouch.
Yeah, that was right off the front leg.
Has some protection there, but I don't think it proved to be very useful in that occasion. Sebastian's 30 years of age. This is his 27th game of the Canadian Championships. And is added to his career .412 average with that double, which was his 8th ever double at a Canadian Senior Men's Championship. Having quite an altercation with Brady Woods with 2 outs and nobody on base in the bottom of the 3rd. And the rise misses up to even the count. And here's the 2-2. Took something off, and Sebastian's mad at himself. He thought he had a great chance to drive it again and just missed it as Blake Hunter makes his way back into the catcher's box.
I haven't seen Brady Woods any ill effects from whatever it was that they saw on that pitch that brought out the coaching staff and the athletic support staff. So seems to be everything's A-okay out there for Brady right now.
See if he can retire Ty Sebastian. High, but fairly routine, and handled by Brian Avery out in right field. 3 innings in the books, and the Sook Loggers lead the Toronto Batmen 1-0 in the final game of Day 1 of the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship. One in the nightcap, and we have one. 1-0, the Sook Loggers in front. They scored in the top of the first inning and have ridden the left arm of Brady Woods as well. There's only 2 hits in the game, 1 for each team. Blake Hunter can change that in a hurry. Had a massive ISC World Tournament for the champion New York Gremlins. Believe he hit a grand slam, did he not, late in the event?
I think you are correct. There were a couple of huge hits by the Gremlins over the course of that week. I know Blake, over the course of the year, I think only hit 3 singles. Now, you may say, well, okay, great, he hit 3 singles. Every other hit he had, and there were close to 20 over the course of the season. Don't forget, the Gremlins only play 5 or 6 tournaments, so 20 hits is a pretty good pretty good haul for a 6-week season. Everything else was extra bases.
Blake batting. In fact, that home run I'm referring to came in a tournament earlier in the year.
That was the Chiefs' challenge.
Yes.
He hit a grand slam late in the championship game to provide the margin of difference. They were tied 4-4 with Hill United. I want to say the 6th inning, and Blake hit a grand slam to win it.
Yes, I know who left the park right after it left the yard. That would have been myself. He's had a great year. Grounded out to short, but it did drive in the game's first run. So he is the only run batted in. And Blake Hunter trying to get his team going in the top of the 4th in what's been a fine pitcher's duel between Randerson, Mitch McKay Some kind of play by the shortstop. Look at him stay with this rocket off the bat of Hunter.
Well, that is fundamental right there. Get in behind the ball, get down on one knee, surround it. Played it clean, too. I mean, it was a nice clean hop, but just hard hit. And that's the way that you've got to play those. You try to play that off the side, it's going to kick off your glove.
Took a bit of a short hop on him right before it got to his hands. Excellent hands by Mitch McKay over at shortstop. Brian Avery, the batter. Brian has a lot of medals and trophies at home. The bio I read for him in the opening ceremonies was maybe even more extensive than I would have thought as he flies out to the other McKay, Mason.
Yeah, if there's a championship to be won in this game, I'm pretty sure Brian Avery has been a part of it. WBSC World Champion, Pan Am Games. I believe he was on the Pan Am Games team.
Yes, he was.
Gold medalist.
He was on the World Championship team. He was on the Pan American gold medal winning team that year.
Yeah.
Both of those in 2015. Canada has not won a lot of World Men's Championships in recent time. They won in 1992 in Manila.
Yeah, 72, 92, 2015.
Yes. Derek Mason was a part of that World Championship team in Saskatoon in 2015. He flew out to Corey Way, who made a marvelous play to retire him in foul territory. Look out. Fortunately, that didn't hit anybody. I thought that was going in behind us.
Well, it's a good thing there's a whole bunch of ball players over there that made a play on it, too.
Members, it looks like, of the Saskatoon Angels, who gave the Galway Hitmen all they could handle in a 4-2 setback in the game played just before us. And this one. And Mason was fooled on that pitch. Tyler Randerson and Brady Woods in a pitcher's duel on night number 1 of the Canadian Senior Men's Championship. How many strikeouts do you have for... Brady Woods back to work. Brady with 6 strikeouts. Tyler Randerson has 5. They've both only given up 1 hit, but Sook in front 1-0. A triple off the bat of Chris Walushka and an RBI ground out that scored him off the bat of Blake Hunter, and that's where we sit going to the bottom of the 4th inning. And shortstop Mitch McKay is the batter. Mitch struck out in the bottom of the first. Made an excellent play, the 23-year-old shortstop, in the last half inning. Hit .350 at the U23 Canadian Championship. Was an all-star there. And goes down on strikes for a second time here tonight. Was 4 for 8 at last year's Canadian Senior Men's Tournament. Strikeout number 7 for pitcher Brady Woods. And this is a really important game, Blair, in this pool.
Yeah, this will help set up for the double life. The top 2 teams in each of the pools will get the double life.
A fly out by Corey Way, right to Chris Walushka, and just like that, there are 2 down in the bottom of the 4th. So we try to almost manually figure out pool play standings. There are some unbeaten teams with 2-0 records. This is going to be a hit over the head of Matthew Waugh. And a double for Denny Benson, as he goes the other way and drives it to left.
Well, here we are, the bottom of the 4th inning, and that's the first hit for Toronto since that leadoff triple, or the double then 2 by Ty Sebastian. So 2 hard hit balls, but they're 3.5 innings apart for the Batmen.
Denny Benson makes his mark, as he has just the second hit, the 27-year-old.
And a pinch hitter for the Batmen, Adam Alexander, in for Cody Skelton here. So already with just the 1 look, and Cody Skelton, who went down looking, and Adam Alexander gets the swing.
2 outs and a tying run in scoring position at second as Alexander swings and misses. Benson was 7 for 30 at last year's Canadian Championship. Did have 5 runs batted in. He'd like to score a run. Both Toronto hits are doubles. This is hit well, and it is gone. Adam Alexander says bye-bye.
Give some credit to the Toronto coaching staff pulling the right levers to get Alexander up there. And whatever he was looking for from Brady Woods, you'll see it here. Didn't look so great on the previous pitch. He gets all of this one.
Adam Alexander with a no-doubter. Knew it was gone when it left the bat. And Toronto has a 2-1 lead. Back-to-back extra base hits, including the Alexander 2-run homer. Adam had 6 runs batted in last year's Canadian Championship. And has a home run in his first at-bat of 2023. Adam now has 4 home runs in the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship, 3 of them against Sook. He hit 2 in one game in the 2019 tournament against Sook.
You might wonder why he wasn't in the starting lineup, but certainly the first guy that they pulled off the bench, and he does it again.
So Toronto has gone in front for the first time. And both those hits came at 2 out. And another strikeout, but Brady Woods a little dejected, Blair.
Well, after that leadoff base hit by Ty Sebastian, he had gone all the way through the order until that Denny Benson base hit and then the Alexander home run. Just the 3 hits on the night, but all of them have been hard hit.
3 extra base hits, including Adam Alexander's 2-run home run that now has Toronto in front by a run. $16 degrees. Look like a threat of a little rain.
I think overnight it's supposed to get a little precipitation overnight, but hopefully not enough to spoil play tomorrow.
Tomorrow could be an interesting day according to the weather. I don't think it's supposed to be our friend here tomorrow. Then in what I've seen, it looks better for Friday and Saturday, and then potentially iffy on Championship Sunday. The good thing about Sunday is if you can get there, having played all the games you're supposed to play, you only have 3 to play on Sunday. So the door becomes a little more open as the batter for Sook, as they find themselves down for the first time, is Kyle Cowick. He walked in his first appearance. Tyler Randerson giving up just 1 hit, a triple to start the game off the bat of Chris Walushka. This game in the Blackpool. And another strikeout for Randerson, who is really settled in.
Peter, we haven't talked about the Blue Crew for this one. Gino Iannone from Quebec is behind the plate. Ryan Weber out of Alberta is over at first base. And on third, it's Frank Fargy from Manitoba.
We'll talk about the players. But it's a big deal to umpire a national championship.
Yeah, it absolutely is. This is something that all the umpires want to have on their resumes, working national championships. These are how you move up the rankings in terms of your levels. And these are, when you put in a good showing here as an official, you get the opportunity to then move on to international events and WBSC World Cups and ISC World Tournaments and things like that. And it is, it's an honor and prestige to be here, not just as a player, but as an umpire as well.
Clint Taylor, thought he had a pretty good at-bat before striking out against Randerson. His first time up. So teams with 2-0 records so far today.
Well, Niagara Stompers are 2-0. Galway Hitmen, 2 wins today as well. Toronto trying to join them at 2-0.
And East Hants on the other diamond.
They were leading at last look. Another strikeout picked up.
Nice off speed. Good changeup from Randerson. Looked like it had a little movement too, moving away from the batter. And Randerson has 3 consecutive strikeouts as he's set to face Tyson Barkman, who struck out versus Randerson back in the second. A 2-run home run by pinch hitter Adam Alexander, who has stayed in the game at second base. Has the Toronto Batmen in front by a count of 2-1. Tries to drop down a bunt, but fouled it away. Randerson reaching into the back pocket for the rosin, or whatever that is called now. That's what it used to be referred to as.
That is the Gorilla Gold rag. It's a very tacky rag. Grip enhancer.
For the longest time, he just picked up a little rosin. But that rag has been in fashion now for a long time. And a good swing by Barkman. Sent it straight back. As Randerson has given up just a leadoff triple. That's been it.
Peter Easthants and Steveston Canadians are tied at 1. That's the other game that's going on in the men's pool here. There is action in the Masters division as well. You can keep up to date with all of that on the softball.ca website. Has links to all of the various things that you need to follow the tournament, the Game Changer standings, the links to our streaming.
Randerson upstairs with a rise, but missed high. And the count runs full to Barkman. 4 hits total in the game. As we are already in the 5th. Play begins tomorrow, again at 9:30. Change up high, and Barkman draws a 2-out walk. And Kevin Schellenberg, the 42-year-old. It's 2 for 13. I talked about 2011, but he did play in last year's tournament. It's 2 for 13. But the last one I had him in prior to last year was 2011. So 2 for 13 in last year's tournament. But a long gap in between. Kevin still in great shape.
I played a number of years on the tournament circuit with teams out in California.
Two out, 2 strikes on the longtime national team member. Runner goes. The throw didn't matter. It was strike 3.
think he's actually
or did he call a leadoff?
Yeah, he's called out for leadoffs, in which case Schellenberg should be at the plate to start
the next inning.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 strikes. And Barkman got a better jump than was required. So the inning is over. And Toronto coming to bat with a 2-1 lead, going to the bottom of the 5th. Tyson Barkman comes in to replace Brady Woods. And even with a couple of former players beside us in our booth area, they were talking in between innings about it's not very often you see a guy stealing a base who's going to come in and pitch in the next inning. But Barkman was called for a leadoff. That's how the top of the 5th ended for Sook. Now he comes in to pitch. Derek Mason moves from 3rd over to 1st. Dean Leland in the ball game at 3rd. And those are the defensive changes as Barkman enters the game to pitch.
Peter, just looking at the schedule for tomorrow, I believe we're kind of doing the same thing that we did today, which would be 1:30 p.m. local time, Grand Prairie versus the Sook Loggers. So we'll see them again right away on the Softball Premier broadcasts. The Moby Concrete Rippers and the Steveston Canadians at 4 is scheduled. And then the Saskatoon Angels, the Prince George River Kings in the 6:30 game, and Bear Creek Express and the Sook Loggers back on for the 8:30 game. So that looks like tomorrow's tentative schedule. We'll see how things play out.
As Tyson Barkman looks ready to go. And Brady Woods had one tough inning. Outside of that, he was dynamite and only gave up 3 hits, I think. Ended up with 7 strikeouts.
I think this is a decent move here right now by the Sook coaching staff. Brady Woods really strong through the order the first time through, gave up a couple of hard hit balls. You don't need to give guys their second look at Brady and have them teeing off. Tyson Barkman brings a completely different look. Right-handed pitcher compared to Brady being the lefty, much smoother. Brady, big hop off the mound. Tyson, not quite so much. Much more traditional push and drag type of motion. It is a completely different look as a batter.
Facing Johnny Baker. And Barkman thought he had strike 3. Gives the old back of the neck a little nervous scratch. Pitched 9 2/3 at last year's Canadian Championship in Newfoundland. Struck out 5, walked 2 in his 23rd game. in the circle at a Canadian championship where his overall record is 6-7-1. Pitched a total of 76 and a third innings by the stats I was able to find. A 2-run Adam Alexander pinch hit home run, the difference in the last inning for Toronto. And looking to add to their lead. One thing about Sook, they haven't had a great night at the plate, but they have very capable people in their lineup, which, again, not sure we've said enough about Randerson and the kind of work he has done. And there is activity for Toronto, and that looks like Sebastian getting ready in the pen.
Yeah, that's exactly who it is, and I would not be surprised to see him move the other way as well, as down on strikes goes Johnny Baker for the second time tonight.
He's 0 for 2. So Barkman comes in and wastes little time recording the strikeout, and now set to face catcher Derek Hyde, 26 years of age. Hyde probably more well-known for his defensive attributes. I think that's fair at this point of his career. Lots of time left. Blair, I think it's probably pretty fair to say that most players in this sport reach their peak in that 28 to 32 window. Would you agree?
I think that's certainly the prime time for fast pitch. It's not like baseball where often guys will hit their peak in their early to mid-20s and plateau and stay at that range for a few years. With fastball, you can continue to get better and better. And I think that's the opportunity for a lot of guys who are on the cusp of the national team right now. And because there hasn't been a whole lot of movement on that national team outside of a spot here or there the last few years, the opportunity exists in about 2 years from now. And for young guys who are in their middle 20s, like Derek Hyde and the McKays and others, that's where they've got to keep their eye on that particular prize.
Hyde thought that pitch was inside and letting the home plate umpire know it. He did have a great hitting Canadians last year in Newfoundland. 361 was his batting average. Look out. That one sailed right over top of his head. As Tyson Barkman has replaced Brady Woods. Gave his team 4 pretty solid innings before back-to-back extra base hits. He had not given up outside of one hit prior to that, and it was the first batter he'd faced. And Barkman comes in, faces 2, and so far has struck out 2. That's a good way to enter the game and make your mark. Mason McKay flew out to his fellow center fielder. His first time up. That's Chris Walushka out there in center.
Well, Walushka just took about 8 or 9 steps over to his left, now shaded well over towards right field. There is a big gap out there in center left. They're not expecting McKay to pull.
In on the hands, good pitch. Tough spot for a hitter. Below the hands, in the inner half to a right-handed batter from a right-handed pitcher. Change up and a beauty. And Barkman working effectively in relief. trying to potentially record his third consecutive strikeout. Missed outside to even the count at 2-2 on Mason McKay. And McKay stays alive. Mason is the younger of the two McKays. He's 21. Mitch is 23. They both played for their country at the World U23 Championship in Argentina in April. Change up, fights it off. He has good speed, and Barkman just made a whale of a play to end the inning. Superb play by Tyson Barkman.
Yeah, let's take a look at that as we exit the inning. Tyson Barkman over the shoulder.
On the run. Well done. Through 5. 2-1, Toronto.
Easton.
Kevin Schellenberg was at the plate when Tyson Barkman was called for a leadoff to end the 5th. Sook trailing in their first game. Toronto already has a win to its credit today. Trying to make it 2-0 and be tied for top spot and maybe in sole possession of top spot in their group. Schellenberg struck out against Randerson in the 3rd. And it hit him.
Got him on the right hand, his top hand.
Hope he's going to be all right. And the 42-year-old.
Yeah, right in the bottom of the wrist.
Hit by the pitch. Tough way to have a runner on base, and Kevin's going to see if that hand's okay, and we're going to have a pinch runner come into the game. And that's Darcy Walushka who will come in to run. Number 7. And Matthew Waugh at the top of the order, who's 0 for 2. And one thing when you're dealing with world-class hitters, they generally only go so long without putting a ball in play.
We saw Ty Sebastian warming up last inning. I'm a little surprised he's not out here. Third time through, the top of this order is very tough for the Sook Loggers. Third look now at Ty Sebastian.
Well, Randerson's only given up the one hit. It was the first batter he faced. It was Chris Walushka. Or the second batter he faced, because Waugh let it off. Walushka in the number 2 spot. And still bringing it with a little gas.
Yeah, he's been throwing very well, and it's certainly no knock on the way Ty Randerson is throwing. When I'm saying think about making a pitching change, it is more in respect of the batters here that he's got to face. With Waugh, Walushka, Blake Hunter, Brian Avery, Derek Mason, that is as good a top 5 as anybody in this tournament. Waugh's throwing bunt, but he's not really committing to it. He's got the bat halfway out, but he's got the hands in close to the chest.
This, to me, you would think would be a great spot to bunt.
And this is a guy who handles the bat very well. But it's almost like he's thinking about bunting for a base hit, not necessarily the sacrifice there, and he just chopped at it.
And that's exactly your point right there. That's not a sacrifice bunt. The 34-year-old from Quebec can't get it down. Looks down to third for the signs. Nobody out. Very key moment in the game. Randerson just missed up high. Do they start the runner here? With nobody out, I would say no.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical on that one at this point. You don't need to force it. You've got the best part of your order up. Let them do their job.
I might run if there's 2 out, but I'm not running with less than 2 out in this situation. Like you said, and not with the row of hitters that are upcoming. So the payoff on the way, and it got away. And Randerson, who was on a roll, hits a batter and almost hits another in walking Waugh after hitting Schellenberg.
See, now you got the coaching staff out, and if there is a pitching change here, you're bringing Sebastian in, if you are, into a high leverage situation, and that is indeed what they're going to do. And now it's a lot more stressful for Ty to come in. I would have rather had him come in and start the inning rather than bringing him into this mess.
Well, Ty Sebastian comes into the ball game in a tough spot. 2 on, nobody out. We'll take a quick timeout here at Softball City in South Surrey, British Columbia. Ty Sebastian set to work in a tough spot with a 1-run lead. He would definitely be, if not their ace, I would think this is the ace of their staff. Coming on for Tyler Randerson, and delivers a first pitch ball to Chris Walushka, who has the only Sook hit, a triple in the top of the first. The pinch runner, Darcy Walushka at second, after Schellenberg was hit on the hand with a pitch. 2 balls and no strikes and no one out. What a chance for the host team.
Ty's got 3 good pitches. He'll also change up his motion from time to time in his rise ball. He'll almost throw it slingshot, where he'll just bring the arm up and then throw it rather than the full windmill rotation, just to give the batter a different look.
6-1 on the ground and eats up Alexander. And the game is tied. Chris Walushka goes the other way. It eludes the second baseman.
Alexander there was thinking double play, but you've just got to get in front of that ball. He played that off to the side. If you get in front of it, at least it doesn't get past you. You got to make 1 out for sure there.
First and third now, and the score tied, and Blake Hunter, the batter. And the momentum has shifted. This is a very important game in this pool. Even though it's night number 1.
Yeah, this is an opportunity to put yourself at the top of the pool. If you are Sook for Toronto, ability to go 2-0, and that will stand you in good stead later in the week, especially with a win over Sook.
Up the middle, base hit. And Blake Hunter has his second run batted into the game. A 2-time member of Canada's World Championship teams in 2017 and 2019. And takes Sebastian up the middle, big high chopper. And Sook back in front. It's 3-2. And still nobody out. And here comes Brian Avery, who could make it 6-2 in a heartbeat. You talked about the heart of this order, and at the top of it, as good as any team in the tournament. You might even include Galway in that group. And it gets away now from Hyde behind home plate. So things really getting away on Toronto.
And Ty Sebastian is not going to look back on this favorably right now.
Well, you thought there was a great chance he might start the inning.
Well, the way he had been warming up, it looked to me like he was getting ready to come in. And I'm not a pitcher, but I've talked to enough of them over the years to know that guys virtually unanimously would much rather start an inning rather than come in, especially in a high leverage situation like that with a couple of guys aboard and nobody out.
Avery, fly ball high but out of play.
Your margin for error in that type of situation is so much smaller than when you're starting an inning.
Brian Avery, 4 for 7 in the 3 games that he participated in Newfoundland last year. And there is a large strikeout for Ty Sebastian, his first of the game. As he gets Avery swinging on the rise. And it was a good one. Now, Derek Mason. Mason's 0 for 2. Infield in. Base open. It's going to score a run. And Mason gets the job done on the high chopper that left Johnny Baker no choice but to go to first. So Mason has his first RBI of the 2023 Senior Men's Nationals. And it's 4-2. As Sook has connected for 3.
You saw Derek Mason just come across the bottom of your screen. He is the 2-out replacement runner for Blake Hunter, the catcher. Mason now the last available batter in the order. Kyle Cowick is back at the plate.
Change up, hits it to left, going to be a tough play, and Corey Way won't get there. And a run batted in, and the lead is 5-2. Change up, Cowick goes the other way, bloops it to left. And Sook has taken the game over with a big 6th.
Yeah, the hit by pitch and the walk both come in to score. The error, a couple of base hits here, the ground out RBI, and it's all in Sook's favor right now. And just the body language from Ty Sebastian, too, just the way he snapped that ball with the glove and stalked back to the mound.
Tyler Randerson had only given up 1 hit entering this inning, was throwing a gem, and you talked about it. Hit batter and a walk. Change. Put Sebastian in a tough spot, and Sook's been able to take advantage. And if he could, right now, he'd throw this thing through the end of the building.
Oh, without a doubt. He is just rearing back and throwing right now. It's with anger.
It is straight sour with velocity. Popped up but into the stands or just to the right of the bleachers.
Yeah, this water, you got to be careful. You've got to take the emotion out of it. You very rarely, or will never, see Sean Cleary have that kind of emotional reaction, because that's where your stuff gets flat. And when you leave something flat to good hitters, they end up out of the park.
Just missed inside.
Yeah, he's cooled himself off a little bit there with that foul ball. It's probably the best thing that could have happened to him.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, but already 4 runs in. And Sebastian, the body language as he walked out of the circle tells the story. Sook strikes for 4 and lead by 3 in their first game of the Canadian Championship. 4 runs puts you in a much better position. And Sook scored 4 in the top of the inning. And now Ty Sebastian, who came on in relief of Randerson. It did not go well. He was a very unhappy guy when he went to the dugout. Let's see how it affects his at-bat. He has doubled already in the game. And Barkman has come in and thrown well.
Yeah, we don't get to see a lot of Tyson Barkman on the tournament circuit. He mostly plays out here in Western Canada. Sometimes will show up at the World Tournament, but often not. I think he's got a very busy work schedule. But he's got all the tools, and I know he's a guy that's always been on the Team Canada radar screen.
Come on in relief of the starter, Brady Woods. Barkman's throwing really well. Got good movement. Change up, but missed down to Sebastian. The count is full, and Toronto would like nothing better than to have the lead off. You need runners when you're down 3. And just foul.
The
diving Derek Mason has always been a great fielder.
Derek has been rock solid on both sides of the diamond. It's in most careers, Peter, you will make the transition from third to first. Derek actually went the opposite way. Started at first, transitioned over to third, and for my money was one of the best third basemen for the last 10 years in the game.
Agreed. Here's another 3-2 to Sebastian, who draws a leadoff walk to begin the bottom of the 6th.
Well, that's a real mature at-bat from Ty Sebastian. We talked about how he was angry leaving the field, and you can oftentimes take that with you up to the plate and swing at pitches that aren't close to the strike zone. But he worked a real good walk, and that's what his team needs right now as base runners.
Mitch McKay, the young shortstop, just 21, is struck out twice tonight. Change up, hit hard on one hop, might be 2. Mason checking to see, was it because I wasn't on the bag? This was close. McKay runs very well.
Pretty close out there at first. Going to give the benefit to the runner there, I guess. But a tailor-made pitch for, a tailor-made hit, rather, for the double play. And good job over there by the defense. Clint Taylor flipping to Schellenberg.
Schellenberg in the game. He laughed when he took a pitch off the hand. So good to see him back. Corey Way, the batter. As McKay reaches on that fielder's choice. Barkman working to Way.
Not sure if they're not picking up the ball out of Tyson Barkman's hand or if they're not timing him. And he throws hard, but their swings are way late. Corey Way was swinging at that pitch when it was in Blake Hunter's glove.
Looked like he expected something completely different. I don't know if he was sitting change and got surprised. That's almost, Blair, to me, what it looked like.
But even there, he was late on that one, too. And Corey Way is not a punch out to right field hitter. He's in the 3 spot for a reason.
Barkman working well. He'd love to put up a 0. It's what you'd always want after a big inning offensively. Change up. Hunter does a great job behind home plate. You'd love another ground ball right at the middle of your infield if you could get it. Counts full now to Corey Way. "32-year-old left fielder." And the drop is a dandy.
That's a real good sequence there from Tyson Barkman and Blake Hunter.
And there are 2 down. Denny Benson doubled the last time up. This one goes off Taylor. McKay with a speedy turn around third.
I don't know whether that ball had a bit of spin on it or it got on Taylor before he could get the glove over, but it just ricocheted off of him out into center field.
Blair the ball on this diamond, and they do incredible work on it. It gets to you in a hurry.
Yeah, it is silky smooth out there. No real bad hops where something has stayed down when you're expecting it to come up or change direction or anything like that. I just don't think that Taylor was expecting that ball to get on him so quickly.
2 out, runners at the corners for Alexander. And you know what he did his last time up? He hit it out of here.
2-run home run. Now that was off of Brady Woods. Tyson Barkman on in relief, and this is the first bit of adversity he's faced. Had it all his way in the 5th.
Could Alexander do it again? He'd tie the game if he did. Tyson Barkman trying to get out of a small jam. Change up, base hit. And it's 5-3, and don't go away.
Good bit of hitting there by Adam Alexander just to get the bat through the zone and loft that up over the head of Clint Taylor.
Adam Alexander is now 2 for 2 with a 2-run home run and another run batted in. He's got 3. He's driven in every Toronto run in the game. And now the tying run is at first and a go-ahead run is at home plate.
Adam Long at the dish.
Playing over at first. Well, the way the game was going, it looked like it could be 1-0 or 2-1. Well, that has changed here in the 6th. And you know that the Batmen would love to cut it to 1. Barkman wanted that pitch.
Well, as good as Barkman looked in the 5th, he's really struggled here in the 6th. The leadoff walk to tie Sebastian. He was erased on the fielder's choice, but Mitch McKay comes around on that soft base hit by Adam Alexander. Denny Benson is up to 3rd. He reached on the error.
Walks and errors.
Oh, and he's a pitch away, I think, from putting the bases loaded, too.
3 balls and a strike to Adam Long. And found the outside corner, much to the chagrin of Long, who took that one big step like, I'm going to first.
Yeah, the umpires on the Toronto bench thought that he had worked a walk.
There's a lot of them over there. Can't blame them. Well, he's worked it now. Bases loaded. And the home plate umpire comes out.
Well, this is the new defensive delay rule. They should only be talking about signals here. That's why the umpire is to accompany them out there, and he should be bringing the catcher right back with him. And they're in danger now of a defensive delay being called, which will result in a ball on the batter. That's the explanation that Blake Hunter's getting right now. You're allowed to talk about signals, but that's it.
Bases are loaded for Johnny Baker. 1 run in. They trail by a pair. And a game that was running along very quickly has ground in. Inside for ball 1.
Adam Alexander runs fairly well. Waz got a good arm in left, as does Walushka in center. Avery above average in right. But if you're the Batman coaching staff, unless it's drilled right at an outfielder, you're sending them on a base hit.
Tyson Barkman dealing with some bugs. Fouls that off his front foot to even the count at 1-1. Game on the line here, I think. Of course, Toronto still has 1 at bat, and so does Sook, but this feels like it would be the best chance for a comeback.
And Peter, we should just note really quickly, that's Isaiah Whetstone out at first base that worked that walk. We were talking about Adam Long. We don't get the changes up here in our broadcast spot. Thanks to Kyle Smith, who pointed that one out for us.
A huge strikeout pitch on the inner half for Barkman, who gives up 1, but it could have been a lot more. Sook leads by a pair. to the 7th inning. And boy, have things become more interesting. Well, it's been a terrific game, but Sook broke it open. Rebounded from 2-1 down by scoring 4 off Ty Sebastian in part. Tyler Randerson put the 2 runners on that he had to come in and deal with. Toronto scored a run, loaded the bases. But Johnny Baker struck out looking with the bases loaded to end the inning, and Tyson Barkman struck him out, and now he leads off the top of the 7th. A ball and 2 strikes to Barkman. And Sebastian, who came on in relief, looks to have settled in here. Good start to get Barkman to begin the top of the 7th. So he struck out 2 in a row after it was tough sledding when he replaced Randerson. And Randerson was just rolling along. He'd only given up 1 hit. It came a triple all the way back in the top of the 1st, the second batter, and was superb, but hit Kevin Schellenberg, who's now at bat. Watt, the next batter. The change was made, and it didn't pay off.
No, and that, unfortunately for Toronto fans, that's the gamble that you sometimes take when you bring in a relief pitcher, is they're unable to get the job done. Ty Sebastian, very normally very reliable.
And now he struck out 3 in a row. As a member of Canada's national men's team. Settling right in, trying to give his group a chance to come up and get some damage done in the bottom of the 7th. Final game of the day. Sook's first game. Toronto, after a convincing win over a very good Grand Prairie team by a score of 10-2. We're trying to go 2-0. But Sook has had other ideas. First base umpire comes over for a bit of a chat. And Matthew Waugh steps back in. He's looking for his first hit of the night. Played for the Galway Hitmen in a championship effort at this tournament last year. Now from one end of the country to the other.
And he's played with Sook in the past, too. Go back to the year that it was in Nova Scotia, in Lance or East Hants. And I'm pretty sure Matthew was with the Loggers back then. I seem to recall an incident in the championship game. He's also played with one of the other Newfoundland teams, too, back in 2016. Which was another incident in the championship game.
And played with Quebec.
Yes.
For a couple of years. Goes down swinging. Sebastian, now he's rolling. Can his team help him with the bats? We'll find out in the bottom of the 7th with Sook leading the Toronto Batmen 5-3. Last chance for the team that made it all the way to the championship final last year, the Toronto BATMEN. Led 2-1 after an Adam Alexander 2-run homer. But Sook scored 4 in the 6th. And Barkman was able to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the 6th.
If you're a Toronto fan, you want to get somebody aboard, either Derek Hyde or Mason McKay, for Ty Sebastian, who will bat third in the inning, but you want him up at the plate with somebody aboard.
Well, Hyde is leading it off, the catcher. Struck out his last time up. He'd love his first hit of this event. Looked like the drop from Barkman that time. Said good velocity.
Yeah, he throws very smoothly.
That's a great description. Yeah, his delivery is almost textbook.
It's the old style push and drag as opposed to the hop and replant, which is predominant these days. But he's largely kept Toronto off balance. They've gotten aboard with walks. They haven't really touched him up with anything hard hit. And I just don't think their swings look very confident against Tyson, whether their timing is off or something else. But it's a good at bat with the walk, so.
Well, exactly what they were looking for and what you alluded to, and not what the host Sook Loggers wanted, needless to say. Thank you, Tips, or Captain Obvious. I don't need it right now. Mason McKay, the center fielder. With the very dangerous Ty Sebastian on deck. To center, Walushka takes 4 or 5 steps back, but settles under it for out number 1. Pretty well hit by Mason McKay that time, but almost right at Walushka, and there's one away.
The old adage, don't get beat by the other team's best player, applies here. You don't want to walk Ty intentionally, but you don't want to give him anything up in the zone to hit out of the park either. Got to keep the ball down here.
Yeah, if he's hitting something here, you want it to be your choice, not his.
Well, if it's up and he's hitting it, it was a mistake.
An excellent drop in the inner half. Swung on and missed. A ball and a strike with 1 out to Ty Sebastian here in the bottom of the 7th. Sook looking for their first win in their first try. Toronto trying to go 2-0. This is hit foul.
Well, he went down and got that one and just drove it well foul and out of play. But that's a good pitch from Barkman, and he should just stay down there and make Ty hit his pitch.
A ball and 2 strikes. Gets away from Hunter. But the key player is at home plate. You're up by a pair. My longtime baseball coach growing up as a kid would say, always concentrate on the batter or runner that matters.
Yeah, and again, the runner out at second is inconsequential. You cannot afford to leave anything up to tie, even with 2 strikes here.
And with a base open, I'm even more careful. Even though it would potentially put the tying run on base. I just think this is one guy in their order that can really hurt you.
Yeah, this is the guy you do not want to lose the game to. Or at least have him tie it up.
I would suggest it's fair to say he'd be their most dangerous hitter.
Oh, yeah. It's by a far margin.
He's in the 1 spot in the lineup, trying to potentially tie the game. And had a swing that resembled that, but fouled it away. It's a great confrontation between the 2 pitchers in the game right now. They both wear 8, and they didn't start the game. Brady Woods did for Sook, Tyler Randerson, and they were both excellent before leaving the game. Woods' blemish was a 2-run homer, and Randerson had given up just 1 hit and then hit a batter and walked a batter before leaving. Sebastian would love nothing more than to help his own cause. Again, it gets away. Derek Hyde jogs over to third. Play continues tomorrow at 9:30. Blair and I will be back with you tomorrow at 1:30. And staying alive is Ty Sebastian.
A live look from Softball Premier drone cam.
I thought that drone was out of business. This is a new one. That drone, when Luciano and I worked together during the Canada Cup International Women's Tournament, it ended up in some great places. It gives beautiful pictures, like the one you're seeing on your screen right now. So the walk for Sebastian, and now it's Mitch McKay. And paints the outside corner to even the count at 1-1. Does Tyson Barkman on in relief?
It's 4 walks for Tyson in 2 1/3 innings.
And now a hit batter. Ouch. Right off the left elbow.
Yeah, right in the funny bone. Nothing funny about it.
No, not for even a millisecond. Is that humorous?
And this is the other guy that if you were a Batman fan that you would want coming to the plate. Corey Way and Denny Benson, the 3-4 batters. For Sook, boy, this is a jam you did not want to work yourself into.
It's game on now. Bases loaded, 1 out. Bottom of 7. As you look on from the drone cam, part of the great work done by Luciano Lafrano of Softball Premier TV and his lovely wife Carol. They do the job of about 12 between the two of them. and you just won't meet nicer people, which always makes doing this job even more fun. Going to work with people you like. It's a good thing. Doing something you love to do.
Every single day. So the coach and the home plate umpire having a bit of a discussion there. You see down at the bottom of your frame.
Corey Way in a great spot. The number 3 hitter in the batting order does not have a hit tonight. He's 0 for 3. Grounded out twice, struck out his last time up against Barkman. Does he have a different outcome this time? And fouls it down the first base side.
But that's already a better swing from Corey Way than anything he offered up in his last at bat.
Hyde, Sebastian, and McKay are the base runners in the hole. It'll score 1. The throw is cut off, and the game is tied. Corey Way, 2-run single, and it's 5-5.
Well, I really like the swing that Corey Way put on the previous pitch, and then he just yanked that one in between short and third, the 5.5 hole. They did a good job to cut that throw off, too, because that could have easily resulted in Mitch McKay, going all the way around to third.
Could be 2. Great hustle to get down the line and beat that out. Look tailor-made off the bat. Quick little transfer from Schellenberg. Just unable to turn it over. In a 5-5 tie in the bottom of the 7th. And Adam Alexander, who came into the game in the bottom of the 4th as a pinch hitter, could win it here. And he's 2 for 2 with a 2-run homer and an RBI single. He's cashed in 3 of the 5 Toronto runs. He would cap off a spectacular night if he can end it here. As Barkman misses outside.
Well, again, with a free base here, honestly, I'm pitching around Adam Alexander, and I'll take my chances with either Isaiah Whetstone or Adam Long on the re-entry.
Whetstone in the on-deck circle.
I mean, they're in a 1-2 count now, so advantage to Barkman, but he certainly doesn't need to throw anything anywhere near the plate here.
So you going drop out? Drop out. Inning over. Corey Way 2-run single sends us to extras. It's 5-5 as we head to the top of the 8th on day 1 of the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship. 5-5 tie in this important night number 1 game between two teams in a pool. Expected to, certainly in Toronto's case, and I would say in Sook's case, they want to be in the first 2 spots, because if you finish 1 and 2, you have an extra playoff life going into the weekend.
Yeah, you look at that pool, the black pool, and they would be 2 of the 3 teams contending at the top there. Bear Creek Express will have something to say about that as well.
And now the rain has started to fall. The international tie-breaking rule in effect. So Matthew Waugh, the last batter, to end inning number 7. And an excellent base runner. Chris Walushka has a couple of hits tonight.
Well, this rain is about an hour ahead of schedule. When I looked at the forecast, admittedly that was about 14 hours ago. It was for rain around midnight. We're just past 11 p.m., and if you're still with us in the Eastern time zone, bless you.
Absolutely. 2 a.m. over there, which is where Blair's clock would be.
Well, I think my internal clock has made it to Winnipeg. It's only 1 in the morning right now.
That is the line of the day right there, so thank you. That's not easy to come up with, my friend, at 4 games in. Chris Walushka as we begin the extra inning. And a strikeout for Sebastian. And that was an excellent drop.
Yeah, he reared back and really threw this one. You just see the downward break at the plate.
Blake Hunter has a couple of runs batted in tonight for Sook. 1 on a single, 1 on a ground out. That scored Walushka with the game's first run.
You know, the scouting report that we got from Sook prior to the game was they thought they would be in a lot of high-scoring games. They felt they had the offense for it, and that's turned out to be the case here tonight, 5-5.
But we got there in an odd way. It was 1-0 for Sook until the bottom of the 4th, and Adam Alexander, 2-run homer. 2-1 going to the top of the 6th. Tyler Randerson was working on a 1-hitter. Hit a batter, walked a batter, pitching change. Sebastian had a rough go early. They ended up scoring 4 in that inning, but scored 1 of their own and then left the bases loaded after scoring 1. Loaded them again, and a Corey Way 2-out, 2-run single tied it.
7 of the 10 runs on the board have come in the 6th and 7th inning.
And Hunter a healthy swing, but missed. And while Sebastian may have looked unsettled early, he has been anything but since.
Yeah, he has been very solid. Whatever he needed to get settled down there, he's found it.
And Blake Hunter did not like strike 3. And Sebastian has another strikeout. 2 in this inning. And Brian Avery, the batter, looking for his first hit of this Canadian championship. National team member, has had a storybook career. Would love to give the host team the lead back, because if he can't, then it's advantage Batman in a big way. Matthew Wise not moved. And I always find strategy interesting in this situation. They were in a part of their order, 2, 3, 4, where again they opt not to move a runner.
Well, Chris Walushka showed it the first couple of pitches, but not really seriously, I didn't think. And Sebastian has just been picking up a couple of strikeouts here, but it is interesting. You would think that with a guy who can handle the bat like Walushka, they would have gone bunt and then give Hunter and Avery the opportunity just to drive him in.
Ooh, that was a high pitch, but Avery able to foul it off. And Sebastian is really on a roll right now. Throwing hard, good movement. As last year's tournament finalists, the Toronto Batmen have fought back from down 3 as they attempt to go 2-0 on day number 1.
So that is the defensive conference for the inning for Toronto.
Another 0-2 on its way to Brian Avery. Oh, and Sebastian was walking towards the dugout. He thought he had strike 3.
Yeah, some courage to take that pitch at 0-2, or 1-2.
It was close.
1-2 now.
High in the air, but very playable. And Ty Sebastian has more than settled in. And his team responded with 3 runs. Can Toronto win it in the bottom of the 8th? We'll find out shortly. From Softball City, bottom of the 8th, and a 5-5 tie. It was 5-2 Sook before Toronto scored 1 in the 6th. Tied it with a 2-out single off the bat of Corey Way in the bottom of the 7th. Ty Sebastian shut down 3 consecutive elite hitters in the top of the 8th. Isaiah Whetstone is the batter. Wants to lay down a bunt, does so. As Brian Avery now over at third base. Derek Mason, the longtime national team member, is the new pitcher, the third pitcher of record in the game. Brady Woods started Tyson Barkman on in relief. And now it is Mason. And when I think about watching Derek in the early stages of his career, he was very much a high-level pitcher.
He was pitcher first and hitter second, and that flipped over the course of his career, but was always amongst the best out here on the West Coast, and played in California for a number of years with the A's team, and was their 1 or 2 pitcher. He's not out of his depth at all here.
38-year-old goes upstairs. They'll check it, and the first base umpire says, worth checking. 2 quick strikes on Johnny Baker.
Yeah, he's had a tough night. Caught looking twice, down on strikes all 3 at plate appearances.
Derek Mason looks like the early days. A big strikeout. And now facing Derek Hyde. Misses up with the rise, which has been in fine form. We have wondered how much Derek has even thrown this season.
Well, he still plays locally in the lower mainland league with the Vancouver Marilomas, and they actually won the provincial championship here at Softball City last weekend. But again, I don't know how much throwing Derek did. I was finding it a little hard to get some scores out of that tournament.
You were not alone, I might add.
Glad it wasn't just me.
Oh, no, it was not. Well, he's throwing well, but now looks like 3 balls to Hyde. The winning run at third, and they're going to...
Well, they might as well just put him on at a 3-0 point. There's no point in trying to work your way back. Just start over with a fresh count with the 9-batter, Mason McKay. What you don't want to do here is walk the 9-batter.
McKay does not have a hit tonight. He's hit the ball well on a couple of occasions. And Derek Mason asking if that pitch is up.
That might have been a little more than an ask there from Derek Mason.
I was trying to be as kind as I possibly could. Inside, and definitely ball 2 that time. The youngster, Mason McKay. Might have went. Does not get the call. And it's 3 balls and no strikes to Mason McKay, who has already been an all-star in the U23 Canadian Championship this year. I'm not sure I'm turning him loose with Ty Sebastian up next at 3-0.
No, the last thing you needed was for him to hit into a double play somehow. When Mason's been struggling to throw strikes, he should have just been taking them all the way.
Well, remember, it doesn't say 2 out on the scoreboard, but there are 2 out. And that's ball 4. With the sacrifice bunt for an out, and then the strikeout.
Yep. Yeah, this was the last thing that you needed if you're a Sook Loggers fan, was to see Ty Sebastian come to the plate here.
It's exactly the player that the Batmen would want to have to win a game, 2 out. Doesn't matter that the bases are loaded. The only runner that matters is at third. And Mason now throws his hands in the air. He tries to walk out of the circle and settle himself down in an emotional moment. He's been in no shortage of these situations in his great lengthy career. Ooh, and Sebastian.
Yeah, I think Ty just did him a favor there. The count's probably where it should be at 1-1.
The end of the day 1 schedule is into the bottom of the 8th. Will we get to 9? Two balls and a strike. 2 out. Toronto trying to go 2-0. Sook in their first game want to bat again. Foul. In on the hands. To the pitcher and national team member Ty Sebastian, the 30-year-old. Is he going rise here, Blair?
I might have thought so until they couldn't get on the same page. I think of the old adage, when in doubt, down and out. A lot of oofs behind us in the crowd here, but that was yanked well fouled on the left side.
Well, that ball almost ended up in downtown Vancouver. But it's nothing more than a long foul ball. Kerr rushed.
Yeah, went with the rise ball, and I think they're going to put that one away.
Another 2-2. The change just missed.
Well,
full count. Blake Hunter's going to go out and chat, and the umpire's going to follow him out.
This can only be about signals. They should not be talking strategy here, because otherwise that should have been a ball if it was a strategy conversation. So they had to be very careful there.
If you're an umpire, that's a pretty hard call to make right here.
You're absolutely right, but
even though it would be the right call,
by rule of the law, and
that does it anyway. Ty Sebastian walked to end the game, and Toronto is 2-0, and Sook 0-1. They led it 5-2, had a 5-3 lead going to the bottom of the 7th. But last year's finalists find a way back in first place in their pool.
Well, that'll be a big morale boost for the Toronto Batmen. They might have thought by the 5th or 6th inning there that they had given it away when they allowed that 4 spot. But a lot of credit there to Toronto. They battled back, and some disciplined at bats by guys in the bottom of the order to work the walk to get Ty Sebastian to the plate here in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Blair, an absolute pleasure as always today, and we have a lot more work to do tomorrow. We hope the weather cooperates. This game certainly cooperated. It was a dandy. Toronto 6, Sook 5 in an extra inning. So long, everybody, from the Canadian Senior Men's Softball Championship in South Surrey, British Columbia.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com. Live it on Softball Premier.